Hello and welcome to the U Up podcast. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Jared Freed. It is so good to be back here with you, Jordana. How are you? What's going on? You got a big life moment going on.
Yeah, I'm big life moments for both of us this month.
A lot of life moments.
Yes.
Today's episode is a life moment episode.
It's all coming together for us. Our dreams are coming true.
Finally.
Yes.
The special's out.
Special.
If you're out there, it's out there. It's on Netflix. You can click on it right now. You could watch it right now at work or wherever you are on your phone.
Exactly. And Jared is just waiting for all your positive feedback.
That's all I want to hear.
Yes.
I want you to really put that feedback all over my face. You know, I just want. Well, it's first of all, it's released all over the world.
The world, globally.
I'm a global sensation.
Amazing. So if we know anyone in any other country, it's
Right.
available there.
It's available.
Amazing.
You couldn't do
I wasn't sure. I was going to ask you about that.
I actually asked because you couldn't do a reminder in other countries, but you can. It is on in other countries.
Amazing.
So it's on Australia.
International superstar.
That's right. Well, we hope.
Yes.
That's where you come in, listener. You know, Jane listener, Joe listener, you know, whatever. If you could go, just watch it. Someone messaged me today.
Put it on your story.
Put it on your story, share, let a friend know. The bits that were relatable to you, tell your friend, go to this minute. You know, someone messaged me today that they watched Fortune Feimster's special. And who was a guest on our podcast.
Yes.
I would love to have the type of success that Fortune has had from their special. Like, I think Fortune, you know, has gone to the next level of stand-up, doing theaters, all that stuff. And they said that Fortune was saying, just watch for 2 minutes because that gets me the play. Okay. I don't know if this is true. This is a DM I got that I guess Fortune was saying, if you let it run for 2 minutes, then I get the credit, so to speak. And then the person was saying that they ended up watching the whole thing because it made it more edible.
Well, it's like working out, right?
Right.
If you say I'm gonna walk for 10 minutes, you wind up walking for longer.
Right.
Because you're having a good time, just like when you watch the special.
Yes, I would say if I was the audience that likes this show, I would say the first 10 minutes.
The whole thing's great.
I know the whole thing. I agree. My mom and I agree that it's great. But I would say, you know, as far as dating material is concerned, the first 10 minutes, it's all tied together in one kind of subject. And then I would say the ending, if you're into body issue stuff, like there is all kind of worked into the ending stuff. So there's something for everyone. But again, that 2 minute thing, when they said it to me, I was like, I don't know. I don't like to say that because I think the whole thing I made the whole thing for a reason.
Right.
But yeah, if you're like, I don't know, just hit play and have it on in the background. Come on, I'm begging you.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Sorry.
Please help me. No.
It's
Share it.
It's gonna be incredible.
There's a exchange of goods for services. I think it is a good product, and you are going to enjoy it, and so will your friends and family and coworkers and brothers and sisters and mamas and papas and anyone who wants a laugh.
Yeah,
that's really what it's all about.
It's out. If you're a subscriber, if you're hearing it, day it comes out. If you're not, you better already have watched it.
Right. Get on it. I'm hearing about watch parties. I don't know. We got to discuss what I should do. I got to do something.
Got to do a party of some sort.
I got to party. I like to party.
You do.
I'm a party guy.
Partay.
2 martinis. Watch it here. Should we have
the Betches office?
At HQ?
We should.
At 3 a.m.?
Yeah, this isn't open to the public though.
Oh. Yeah, don't Google the office. I think you can find the offices.
I think you can.
Yeah. We should. I don't know how.
It's too late if you're a subscriber.
Right. Jordana, you got big life stuff. So again, watch the special 37 single.
Check
share
it out. Yeah. Well,
please.
How is your? Also, I mean, my big news is that I closed on my house.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Huge moment.
Thank you. And I'm moving tomorrow. The last move. My brother was like, "You need to get an overnight shipped last move shirt."
I mean, whatever moving roadway move. Who you use?
Using Piece of Cake.
Piece of Cake moving.
Yeah.
They should bring you out like on one of those Cleopatra
Right,
chairs, like
yeah.
all those people
I
carrying
want to be on
you.
horses.
Yeah,
Yes.
how do you feel more? Do you feel closer to Mike? You own something together. Like
Yes.
I would say that owning a home together is more of a commitment than marriage to me.
In some ways, I think it's like a big part of the commitment, I would say. It definitely was like, oh my God, we have a house. Like, and then you get the list of all the people.
Old
from,
AF.
You get that, and then you get a list of like all the people that you need to call to like maintain the house, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be expensive.
Right. We're on our own now.
Right.
There's no super.
It does feel like that. Like we've just like embarked on this adventure, and I feel like there's going to be a lot happening, and I think it's going to be great for us, but it's also going to be like an interesting test of like how we divide responsibilities, because there's going to be a lot more than when you're in an apartment.
There's things to do, and you kind of just like, you start to understand the minute you own a place that you go, oh, I understand why people take years and years to like feel like it's finished.
Totally.
You know, like they attack one room at a time. It's when they have some extra money, like when you don't just, I remember growing up my house, like all of a sudden my parents were like, we're doing a sunroom. And it's like, when was this on the, maybe,
right.
the sunroom was
they
on
don't tell you about the finances of that.
Right. And what went into the decision making and why now versus when you first moved in. And, homes evolve over the years, and it's exciting. This is cool.
I'm excited. I'm nervous. And I think it's going to be fun.
You got a pool.
I have a pool. Yes.
Did all the betches get pools?
We all have pools.
All three.
Yes. We like swimming, I guess.
Swimmers. I thought that was a very interesting thing, that all three of you were like, gotta have a pool. It's not like we live in Florida.
I had a pool growing up.
You did?
Yeah. Also on Long Island, I had a pool growing up. And it's like, to me, and Mike had a pool also growing up.
Really?
Long
Is
Island,
everyone, what's going on?
I guess.
I didn't have a pool.
Well,
oh, wow.
Sucks for you.
A peasant.
You're a little more north. You were from a little more north.
Yeah, it just, my grandparents had a pool.
Okay, so you had a pool.
We used to go there Sundays, and it was this pool with a diving board, which would like, you're not really allowed to have anymore. They had a diving board.
You're not allowed to have diving boards anymore?
I think it got phased out. Like,
too many injuries?
We had, literally once a month you'd have someone come up from the bottom of the pool bloody nose, because
okay, that's a
hit
good
the bottom
reason
of
to
the
get
pool.
rid of the diving board.
Yeah, we were just like, I have a lot of memories of going to my grandparents'
Well, that's
pool.
the thing about pools, is I feel like when I think of like the happy childhood memories that I have, a lot of them are in and around the pool, like with my siblings, with my friends, with my it just feels like it's a nice way to like have people over.
Yeah.
And it's funny because my pool, I feel like, was not that well maintained, because my family, again, was like chaotic and whatever. So it's my chance to do the pool right, heat the pool, make sure that
was it never heated?
No.
Oh my God.
It was like dirty and not heated, but we had fun.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was post.
It was our pool.
But it's funny. It's like, you gotta, and Mike's like, we're not even gonna need a pool guy. Like, I'm gonna take care of the pool. I'm like, okay, we'll see.
Oh my God.
We'll see.
He's funny.
He's starting with all that shit. Like, we don't even need a guy for that. Like, I'll do it. I'm like, yeah, fucking right. You haven't done shit.
What would he? In what world does he have pool? Like, he's gonna get a YouTube?
He had a pool growing up. He's like, I'm gonna ask my dad. I'm like, okay, good luck.
Well, this is gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
It just he's making a lot of bold claims as we move into this house.
Yeah, I've been there.
That I don't.
I'm gonna
see
redo the
out.
closets. I'm gonna.
He's like, we'll buy like a snow blower. I'm like, well, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You say your back hurts every other day.
This is great. I want a live stream
of Mike trying to do handiwork.
Yes, yeah. The mic cam.
Great. I'll send it to you personally.
I love it. Well, this is great. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Do I look tired? I have been crisscrossing this great nation of ours.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to ask you about your trip to LA, and then your trip back to New York, and then your trip back to LA again, which I don't think anyone does. I don't know. I've never heard of anyone doing that.
Here's the thing. I want to go. I want the special to go. I want everyone to listen or to watch it. So I'm trying to get on all these podcasts to try and, promote the 37 and Single on Netflix right now. So I was like, it's just, I blame LA people for what I did.
Okay.
Well, basically,
they're not here, so we might as well.
Right. Well, LA people are these, if you try to make a plan with them, they're like, "Whoa, when are you in town?"
LA no.
The LA no.
Yeah.
So to avoid the
Got
LA
'em.
no,
You just flew right in.
I said I'll be there. Like it was like next door. So
Okay.
like anytime an LA podcast, I'll go. I'll be there from, Thursday to the next Friday.
How many podcasts did you weasel your way onto?
I weaseled, I think 7 different shows.
Oh, wow.
I'm doing a bunch here. I'm doing a bunch on Zoom. I
the
have
hardest
not
working
shut
man
the
in
fuck
America.
up. I was like, why? I'm gonna stop now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna not. Put in the work now. Like I could have. Some people were like, my parents were like, why don't you just like stop for a while now? Let
You're
nature
like
take its course. I was like, I'm fucking nature.
You're
I'm
like a doctor in April 2020.
That's right. One and the same.
This is your time.
This is my time. I'm a frontline worker.
Can't take your foot off the pedal now.
I really couldn't. So I went to LA, did some podcasts, came back because the Comedy Cellar did a live stream into Regal Cinemas,
That's cool.
which is pretty cool.
Is that their way of getting back at the AMC Nicole Kidman thing?
We trying to get her? Is that a?
I don't know. They would not to get back, but she was promoting AMC. It was like a whole funny viral thing where she had this like awkward promotion.
She has a thing at the beginning of the movies that it's like,
thank you for
welcome
coming
to the
the
movies.
cinemas in
Right.
her like Australian accent.
And then everyone made fun of her for that.
But
Yeah.
Regal is probably like, we need our own.
Right. We need Jared
Yeah,
yelling at us.
Jared Kidman.
Jared Kid, that's me.
Yeah.
No, they did this like you could go on to a cinema on a Saturday night at 8, and it was a live show.
Oh, cool. Oh, you could like buy tickets to see the show.
Right.
Cool.
So I agreed to do it before the special was happening.
Now's a good time to be in the cinemas with the Barbie Oppenheimer thing.
That's the thing. They were like, cinemas are just looking to get people back. And this is a live event. And if you know the Cellar, like, okay, you're going to get a showcase show. So I did it. And then I woke up the next day, flew back to LA, did a bunch of podcasts again. And then I took the red eye to make it here.
To make it here.
Of course,
Wow.
this is our baby.
Yes.
I got to tend to it. I got to make sure that our
TLC.
listeners come first.
Of course. No matter how many specials you have, you'll be here.
I'll always be here.
Yes.
Talking about your dating issues.
Exactly. That's the kind of dedication that you have.
That's right. I wanted to be in, so I took the red eye. The red eye is such a stupid fuck. I don't.
Delta 1?
No.
Oh, wow.
No. I was in Delta Comfy.
You were in Delta sitting upright.
Upright.
Like a plebe.
It was really embarrassing.
Oh.
I have a Netflix special.
Do they know? Did you tell
I should have let them know.
Do your parents do that embarrassing thing where they like tell people, like strangers, that you
Do my
have...
parents do embarrassing things? Is that a question?
You
Are
know,
you
like-
out of your fucking mind? Have you heard you've met my parents?
Like, yeah.
I mean, they are
But
loud.
they also seem cool. Like
They're cool.
my dad will tell, like, if he goes as a nurse at a doctor's office, like they all know what I do. It's very embarrassing.
I think it's the problem with doing something different too, and then when it's successful,
Right.
your parents want to brag on you, and also
Yeah.
it's something to talk about. So like, I'm sure your dad ever heard of Betches?
Actually,
I'm sure
though,
that's the move. So my mom does that about Betches.
Oh yeah.
My mom, her opening isn't ever heard of Jared
Jared?
Freed. It's ever heard of Betches.
Oh wow, I love that.
So she does
Okay.
that a lot. He's a comedian.
She tell like the waiters at the
everybody,
restaurant? Yeah.
everybody. It is. It feels like ants are underneath my skin every time she does it.
Yeah.
And again, it comes from like the best of places. Yeah, and then I mean, I have it all over the place. Like I went on a date and I'm walking into the restaurant and this one woman just goes, literally, I walk into the restaurant, open the door, shut it. This woman is obviously drunk. And she goes, Jared Freed!
Oh my God.
I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I froze and she screamed. I'm not screaming like I'm screaming. I usually scream. That's exactly the volume.
What did she say after that?
And she goes, oh my God. And then, like, literally now people at the bar, like,
Are looking at you?
It's Emmett's. You ever been to Emmett's on Grove?
No.
I think Emmett's great restaurant. Plug City.
Plug City.
Let's take a trip in Plug City. They have a pigs in a blanket. I don't know how you could do a bad pigs in a blanket at a restaurant.
Interesting.
It's like a high-end pigs in a
No
blanket.
one loves pig in a blanket pigs in a blanket more than like men in their 30s.
Or
something about like
you're right.
The idea of pigs in a blanket. Every man is like, every wedding we go. Do you think there's gonna be pigs in a blanket? Every event, like that's just like a
Does
weird.
that Mike say that?
Yeah, but all his friends also. There's just like a weird obsession with pigs in a blanket. Whereas I think they're like fine. Like I'll have one, but I'm not like thinking about it all day.
No. I'm thinking about it all day. Yeah. My dad's birthday is 65th. They had high-end pigs in a blanket. They had like little big ones. Like you had multiple bites.
Like a hot dog?
It was a legit like.
Isn't that a big one?
It was a big, yeah. It was a hot dog and a phyllo dough. No, it was like a big pig in a blanket. And like my dad didn't stop talking about it. I don't think it's guys. I think it's guys in general.
It's a man thing. Maybe it's not a 30s thing.
Right. And no, they have them at Emmett's on Grove. And they have a good like thin crust pizza, a cracker pizza.
Okay. Sounds good.
Great spot. Good bar in the front. So I walk in, but this bar in the front, there's steps that are like risen when you walk in. So I'm basically on stage, Jared Freed. And I'm like, and then, you know, you get in this position where it's like, I don't think that highly of myself. Like all I think about when I hear that is someone in the bar going, who the fuck is it? Fuck him. You know, like whatever. And they were incredibly nice. It was like a whole group and they literally looked at me. They're like, Netflix, August 15th.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I'm doing a good job.
There you are. Yeah. That's how you know your promo is working.
Right. They knew the date, which is like the greatest compliment in the world. So you can't be like, oh, get away from me. You know, like.
I feel like, you know, in movies when there's the scene when the guy walks in and then everyone just does like the slow clap.
Right. That's me at Siddell's, just a bunch of Jews.
And then it gets louder.
Yeah.
And that's like the last scene of the movie.
Right.
Everyone like puts their hat on the table.
That's me. Yeah, that's what happens to me around New York. Right. Yeah. So I mean, in that scenario, like I don't, you know, comics don't like telling people they do comedy because it's a media conversation. You know, I'm sure. Have you ever like had someone ask you what you do? I mean, have you ever?
I work for a media company.
Right. You don't tell people.
Yeah.
And that's an easier Oh, cool. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. That's you said.
Because if you said, I'm the founder of Betches Media, it would be a different.
Well, yeah, and honestly, like people who are out of our demographic, not everyone knows what that is. And
right.
Like the last thing I want to do is start explaining what that is.
Right.
Like that's literally the last. If I'm getting like a haircut or anything, and someone's like, "Well, what do you do?" and I'm just like, "I work for media."
Right.
What kind of media? Women's media.
Women's things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hearing your mom explain what you do is nails on a chalkboard.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't think there's anything more horrific than hearing. I mean, back before, like my mom she'd be like, "He's a writer, does the writing, you know."
He's a writer,
right? Yeah. and that was like and I have to take over.
Right now you have a special.
Now,
yeah.
Jared Netflix Freed.
I'm interested. Right. Well, how is she gonna say you're a comedian now? Now she's proud to say you're a comedian.
I think she's been better about that in recent years. Okay. Yeah, it's well, again, she'll go, you know, Batches, like that'll be an immediate thing. But yeah, so it's happening. It's out there.
It's gonna be great.
Maybe today we have all these new listeners.
Yeah.
If
you're listening because you saw the special. Welcome.
Right. Should we explain the podcast?
Every week we talk about the special.
We jump right in for about 30 minutes of special talk. And no, I mean, if you're new here because you saw the special and you wanted to find out more about the things, I mean, that's the other thing. That's the exciting part is that someone could go, I've always thought this. Like the reason I've always done things on the internet and put things out there for, you know, free, you know, in an internet way, it was someone could be like, oh, I saw this guy on a show, let me see what else he has, and then be like, wow, this guy never shuts the fuck up, you know, like, so like if you're new here, we talk about modern dating, we talk about the male-female perspective on modern dating. It is a place that we've always said is a comfortable place to have uncomfortable conversations. We're going to talk about everything dating-wise. If you have an email for the podcast, uup@betches.com. uup@betches.com. We also have you can call.
Yeah, you can call us. We haven't said the phone number in a bit.
Let's do it now. 212-589-8903. You can call with any dating scenario and we'll unpack it.
Yeah.
I mean, my hope is a little bit, you know, when I think about like Netflix and comedy special, maybe we'll get some more, male listeners that are like, oh, I want to
Love
get
the
into
male
what
emails, yeah.
right, the male emails. We want to encourage them to kind of get involved.
Send it in. We'll be here solving dating every week.
Every week, and I'm on the road. If you're out there, I'm coming to Raleigh this weekend. I'll be there right away.
Oh, wow.
Let's get going. New
Fresh
hour.
off the special.
Fresh off the special. I got t-shirts. Fresh off the special. It's a whole new hour. I might still do the X bit just because people seem to like telling me their X.
Yeah.
I think if I might know, I won't do the bit. Maybe I might just at the end, like if you want to, because if people still want to do that, but it's a whole new hour. It's all about my family.
The whole family.
The whole.
What's it called again?
We called it the Family Business Tour, but people kept going, is your
Thinking
family on
working
stage
for
with you?
you, yeah.
I just, it's a whole new hour of stand-up. Okay. So Raleigh, Lexington. Let me make sure I get all these out here. Raleigh, Lexington, Colchester, Connecticut. I'm doing a show at a vineyard and winery. So listen, Netflix special straight to the outdoor shows. Providence, Rhode Island, Atlanta, Huntington, Long Island.
I'll be there.
Jordana will be there. Huntington, Long Island. It's starting to pick up a little bit, but that's the one I'm interested to see what happens with the special.
Okay. Well, however many tickets are left, we're going to get them all.
All of them.
Yes.
Okay. Huntington, Long Island. And we're going to go to Jordana's pool after the show. Seattle, Washington, Charlotte, Philly, D.C., Baltimore. And then I've added, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Dania Beach, Florida.
Is that how you say it?
Dania?
I always thought it was just Dana Beach.
Dana Beach. Oh, you're probably right.
Is it? I don't know. It wasn't spelled
I didn't
like
even
Dana?
know it was, I've never heard of this town.
Anyone know?
What is
Oh,
it?
there is? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, there's maybe Dana Point. Maybe that's it. I'm
maybe
thinking
it's
Dana Point.
Dania. Is that? No. Everyone said no. It's
All
near
right.
Fort Lauderdale. It's
Oh, I thought it was in California.
Dania Beach.
Oh, it's in. It was, okay.
This is
Okay.
this is
I'm thinking of the wrong thing. Ignore everything I just said.
Dania. Oh my God, I've never sounded more Jew that moved to Florida.
Like Danya.
Dania. Go to Dania Beach.
Dania. Okay.
So that's near like Fort Lauderdale area. So it's like whatever. Phoenix, San Diego, and Boston. Seattle, if you're out there, I mentioned Seattle, it's almost sold out. So
Ooh.
that's right.
Might be sold out by the time you hear this. Who
That's
knows?
right. That's that Netflix bump.
Seattle.
Nice. I love Seattle. Huge fan.
I want to go back. I only went for like one day during our tour in 2019.
You need a couple days there.
I think so.
It's a beautiful town. Goonies. I don't know.
Sleepless in Seattle.
Sleepless in Seattle. Sleepless in Red Eye for me.
Yeah. I mean, you live on Delta Airlines.
And they're not doing enough. If I'm gonna be honest.
Wow.
Who
What is the
has
opposite
more,
of Plug City?
No, yeah, this is the opposite. Who has more miles than me? Every time I don't get upgraded, I go, where are you going? I want to like go up to the person who got upgraded ahead of me and go, where are you going? Where are you going?
There's like someone who flies more than you with as much, either for work or for not, I guess, right below trying to figure out the private plane, and that person's getting upgraded all the time.
So they're almost at private plane level, is what you're saying, right? They're like,
Right.
It
They're like
would make
flying
more
first
sense.
class everywhere. They're buying the
Right.
first class ticket.
That piece of shit.
Find them.
Oversharing. I've been listening a lot.
Check it out. We're gonna be. You're on the episode that is out today. So if you haven't listened to it yet, you are on the episode. We're doing Triggers with Jared because that's your favorite segment.
I love that segment. If someone hates me, they're really gonna hate me this week because I'm on every podcast.
Well, and if someone loves you, it is your lucky week.
It is a big Jared week.
Yes.
No. I love coming on. It's
And
great.
Dr. Naomi loves you. We all love you.
I listen to that podcast. It is your podcast so soothing.
Oh, thank you.
You guys, you were talking about. I was listening on my whole flight. It was like an oversharing marathon for me.
What were we talking about?
Her vacation.
Oh yeah.
She went
Seeing
to Colorado.
the stars and shit.
The stars. She planned it without knowing how to plan it. It was a vacation I would never take.
You glamping?
Glamping.
Regular camping? I don't know what
With
they did.
kids?
Yeah.
Oy. I can't imagine.
Well, she was saying, like, I guess vacations when you have kids, it really adds up because you got to buy them each a ticket for everything, and they don't work.
Right.
So it's just like a ticket, you know.
These
They're not,
kids
they're not
aren't
gonna pay it
working
back.
these days.
They're
Yeah.
just- I mean, that's the weird thing about having kids, I guess. You're just like, you pay for all their shit, and it's never like, what are you paying for?
Right. What do you contribute here?
Right.
Especially if they're not cute.
I know.
Oh,
the
then,
horror.
yeah, they're really sucking the life out of the house.
Yeah.
Let's get to the emails.
Speaking of people who are, tough to live with, let's get to this first email. Yeah.
This email I think is funny.
I'm interested to hear your take.
Yeah, because it is funny to me that they were like, "I'll go to us for this."
I have thoughts.
Go ahead. No, I definitely have thoughts.
Like, I don't know why anyone would ask for your fucking opinion on this. All right. J&J, longtime listener and huge fan of the pod. I have a question for you. What are your thoughts on cursing at your significant other when you're getting into heated arguments? Acceptable or nah? Context. My significant other and I got into a huge argument, and they called me a bitch and an asshole in addition to telling me to fuck off and saying fuck you, etc. In my eyes, I don't believe you. I hope no one's listening with their kids in the car. In my eyes, I don't believe you should speak to someone you supposedly love in that way. While we can be passionate about things we argue about, it seems a bit below the belt to curse at your significant other. I think it's disrespectful, but maybe I'm old-fashioned. Curious to hear your thoughts on this. Sincerely, big ol' C word.
Whoa.
I think that's another level too.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we have to acknowledge like the danger of language going that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're screaming, obscenities at your partner,
Yeah.
you're on the doorstep of like a very serious. I guess I just want to make sure we acknowledge like the dangers.
Could be very much in a verbal abuse. This sounds kind of verbally abusive to me.
Right.
Yeah.
But because again, we have to talk about this.
Yes.
So I'm just acknowledging that, like, especially this person, if you don't feel safe, talk to people,
Right.
talk to friends and family about this. I think sometimes people keep this a secret.
Or if you're feeling belittled or
Right.
like disrespected.
Right. And it just, because what ends up happening is you get embarrassed that this is how you fight.
Right.
And now I would think that's a road towards a very and I'm not an expert. I'm just saying, I understand. I empathize with the position of like, I'm not going to tell anybody. Like
Right.
they're writing to us, which is easier than telling their parents and family that like, hey, this guy is being verbally abusive to me.
And I've seen couples where they're both saying that kind of shit to each other.
Right. Well, that's where our conversation starts. Is kind of, if we're going to talk about this, I just want to make sure, like, and if we could give out like a phone line in the description that people can call. I am no expert in this arena, but I just know that this is like one of those slippery slopes that's not that big a slope.
Right.
So, but I would say, like, when they ask the question, is this okay or not?
Yeah.
I go, everyone has different fighting styles, arguing styles. So like, not all fuck you is the same.
That's fair.
Like,
That's fair. Depends on that. Some of it depends on the context.
Right.
However, I do think that a name calling in that way to label the person as something, it is different to say you are acting bitchy than you are a bitch. To me, personally, and I'm talking about my own fighting style.
Right. Have you ever sworn at Mike in that way?
I've never. He gets mad if I call him mean. Like.
Okay. Yeah.
Like,
no, I get it.
And I do think that like
you big meanie.
Well, I'm like, you're being so mean, and he's like, stop saying I'm not being mean. Like, stop. Like, he doesn't like to be labeled as mean.
Right.
And I mean, sometimes I'm exaggerating and he's not really being mean. I'm just like, pay more attention. You're being mean, whatever.
Right. Well, this is really funny. This is a side note. I love the Marvel movies, and I just did 17 hours in a Delta flight.
Oh, wow.
So I watched Guardians of the Galaxy like 17 times. There's a whole part in the new Guardians of the Galaxy, the most recent one, where a dog can talk, and there's a whole kind of arc of one guy calling the dog a bad dog and them getting really offended.
The dog
being like, I'm not a bad, take it back.
Right.
So it made me think of
You're
like
acting bad.
Right,
yeah.
right. You calling mean, like the dog being like, no, tell me. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Tell me I'm a good dog.
Right.
So it just made me remind me
it's
of
funny.
that. But
I think it's like you said, there is an element of context to this, but I would not be okay with being like called, what does she say? Right, they called me a bitch and an asshole. I wouldn't like that. I don't think personally.
No,
yeah. As if you fought like that.
No, I'm not an arguer like that.
Right.
I let me say I don't
You
think
just
I
leave.
am. I'm trying to think. I would just like and then I kind of thought about that when I read this email because I'm like not an arguer.
I think it's a very immature way of fighting.
Of course, but here's where I'm playing. I don't think devil's advocate, but it's an interesting would you rather. Would you rather have it out or nothing at all? You know, this is communication. You know, it's done in a bad way. And again, not all fuck yous or you're a bitch is the same.
Yeah.
So, you know, like where I don't argue means I'm not communicating. So, like, would you rather me go, you know, you're acting like a fucking piece of shit? Or would you rather me go, I'll put it in my head and walk away with it? Neither
of those are ideal. The ideal way is that you say your feelings in a calm way. Obviously, like not everyone can do this, but is that you say how you're feeling in a calm and rational way, and then don't put it as a character trait of the other person, which is again why I think you're acting bitchy is different than you are a bitch. Or when you said that, I felt like this.
But we're even talking about this in the most healthy way possible. Like when you're arguing, it is an you know, like it is it's very carnal, heated thing. It's very like, you know, this is why.
But I think you need to make sure that you maintain a level of respect in your relationship throughout the whole thing, and that there's certain things that are just not acceptable.
Well, that's the thing. You have to understand that.
And everyone has their own line. Everyone has their own line of where they think things are acceptable and unacceptable. I'm very particular even about like tone.
Right.
I'm like, I don't like the tone in which you're speaking to me. I've said that before.
Right.
Other people might not care or something like that.
Well, I think that's what I was kind of thinking. Like, I think relationships have to have like their own rules of the roost, so to speak. Like, you know, when we fight. Like, I think when there has to be a discussion of like, I think for every argument, there has to be the post-argument talk.
The
breakdown. Yeah. And I think in that breakdown, you have to say, you have to accept you're going to argue.
Right.
And I guess that's where arguments become more healthy.
Totally.
Because if you accept arguments are going to happen,
this is going to be correctly. Yes.
Right. If you argue in these ways, you're now crossing the line that I won't forget.
Yeah. And I'm not victimless. I'm not blameless in myself. In my early fighting days with Mike, I've talked about like drinking and starting fights and bringing up issues while drinking. Mm-hmm. And that was a line that he drew. He's like, I'm not going to fight with you when you're drunk. Right. Which I think is fair.
Right. But now that was a rule that was implemented in in the marriage, and it's on the list, and it's been etched in stone.
We had to go through that to find out that was not something that was acceptable.
Right, and it's like for this person, I'm done with the fight, whatever it was about. Now it's about the relationship. There's that breakdown is not about the you left the dishes in the sink.
Right.
It's not about I didn't like it. It becomes about like if someone argued with me in public, I would take that in. Whatever the argument was about, we would finish that, and then it would be about, hey, we got to talk about that public thing.
Yeah.
Like, if that's, and some people, they get off to that. Like,
the arguing in public?
The swearing at someone, the arguing in public.
Well, it's also just how they feel comfortable arguing. That's just like they're...
Or they know that's going to get you. They know that makes you the most uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I feel like arguing can be a very constructive thing, or it can be a very, very toxic thing. And I think a lot of that is like, I think a lot of people's arguing styles is the way that they saw their parents argue.
Right.
And like how they, and what lines they wouldn't cross, and how my parents used to argue in such like a petty, like, mean way where they would just like say really mean things to each other that were like super below the belt and had nothing to do with it, just to hurt each other. And I used to do that. like when I was very young, or when I was like in college or something like that. Like that's how I used to fight. And I think you have to learn, like, the way that you see things, the way you're comfortable seeing people argue is not always correct.
Right. I think I went the opposite. Like my parents would have it out, and I go. I'm like,
you're like, don't. Why? Because I'm surprised, because I feel like you see something that's like had out and then resolved, and then like they're still together. So
I don't know. I think sometimes I was put in the position of like mediating. You know.
Oh, you were involved. Okay.
Not involved, but like, what do you think? You know, should we swear?
Okay.
Like I would get asked a question like this question to me is like something that like I would get turned to at 10.
Oh, like, Jared, do you think it's okay to call your wife
you're
something?
a fucking bitch?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, we should really discuss.
Well, that laid the groundwork for your dating podcast hosting, right?
It makes more sense when I think about it, you know, that way. So yeah, when the argument styles too, that's like what brings you together with someone. Like,
if you can do it right.
Right.
That's the thing. I think that if you can argue in a constructive way, and I think it's weird to never argue too. I think that's also very weird.
Agreed. That's why I brought it up, that I'm like, you know, I'm thinking of like, I'm not saying I'm like blameless. I'm sure there's someone out there, yeah, Jared's told me to go fuck myself. But I don't. It's just not my style.
I can't imagine. I really can't imagine you having that kind of interaction.
I
can't
imagine it either. But yeah. I just don't. I remember one time I got so mad, and I did like I'll never forget. I felt like I was like a husband in the 1950s. I go, I will not have this.
Oh, wow.
Like I did like one of those, and I was like,
must have taken a bit to get you there.
It really got me. It took a lot of like nudging
and then
to
you're
get
like,
me.
oh, Dad's mad.
And then I like literally was like, who am I? I hid under the bed. You know, like I do remember having an outburst like that once and being like, what was that? You know, I can't believe I could get that.
Yeah. I mean, someone must have pushed you to your breaking point.
Right. Or whatever it was. But
this shall not stand.
Right. I just remember it was very like old manish. Like, what does this person do? Do you think I think they got to like start the rules together.
I think you make it about you. I do not allow people to speak to me like that. I understand, even if you're saying, what is he saying?
Well, I think especially in this email, what I laughed at a little bit in the beginning is them writing to us being like, make the rule for us. And it's like,
it's about you.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's important to acknowledge, is like, listen.
This is not acceptable for me.
For me.
Yes.
Because when you do what you end up doing is like, oh, no one would do this. It's like, well, now you're kind of like pushing off the responsibility to these other like straw couples, you know, like you're inventing straw men. So I think like the important part when you don't make when you make it about, hey, when I argue with you, if you call me a fucking C word, that's unacceptable.
Unacceptable. Yeah.
I'm here to fight with you. I'm
not going to be tolerating that.
Right. I'm here to talk things out with you. We're not going to be happy with each other. That's okay. That's a relationship. But I'm also, you know, this isn't no holds barred. You know, like there are rules in these matches.
Yeah, and I have a standard for the way that I want to be speaking to. I find that language disrespectful in an argument. And if you're gonna and I think that's their standard. And if he's so insistent after that's the way that he argues, you're clearly not a match.
Right, and he doesn't care to negotiate with you.
Well, even if someone said to you, like, when you let's say you leave the conversation, and we're fighting, I find that disrespectful.
Right.
That doesn't work for me.
It would be me giving up on us if I kept doing it.
Right. You wouldn't, that means you didn't care enough to do things in a potentially more healthy way.
Right, absolutely. And I don't think J&J said is a good way. That's not a good way to go. We don't know what kind of fuck was said. You know, like
big old C word.
Big old C word.
Yeah. I think, again, put it in terms of in you terms and what your tolerance is for anything. You could do this about anything, even something stupid. Like, I'm not eating at that restaurant. I don't like it.
Right.
It's not something that it's just not something that I enjoy.
Right.
Any kind of boundary you want to draw is totally fine on your end. Again, you don't have to defend it. You could say, I find it disrespectful. I don't like it. I'm not going to be spoken to.
These
that
are the
way.
rules of the match. That's
right.
Yeah. These are the rules of the match with me.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think it's very important to establish that kind of thing early on, because I think if you let people speak to you like that in the beginning of a relationship, they only feel more comfortable speaking like that or worse
Right.
to you the longer you get on into it.
And if it keeps happening, or if it's happening enough, in something that feels dangerous, tell friends and
Yes.
and family and stuff. I think like the community protects and also gives you perspective. So I think the hardest part about relationships is going, well, this is how we do it, and then you don't know whether that's good or bad because
Right,
there's
'cause
nothing to compare it to.
you don't see anyone else behind closed doors, so you're kind of like, maybe everyone's
Right,
calling each other a bitch all the time.
right. Big ol' C word would be a great hat. Let's do some awkward sex. You ready?
Let's do it.
UUP@betches.com. I'm an avid You Up listener and was recently inspired to write in by a recent awkward sex, so let's jump right in.
Jumping in.
I was in my early 20s and was deep in the honeymoon phase with my boyfriend, aka less than 6 months in. We had just spent our longest time apart, 10 days. Whoa. Due to two separate trips we both had been on, so our quote-unquote reunion was, of course, hot and heavy. My roommate at the time had just gone off to a party, so we had the apartment to ourselves, a rarity when you're 23. He arrived, and we immediately got after it, moving clothing to the side and doing the deed right there against the kitchen table. 23-year-old kitchen table, not as sexy as, Nora
Adult.
Ephron.
Yes. Quaint countryside table.
Right.
Yeah.
You're clearing off like a plastic table that would be at like a like a
With
tailgate.
the beer pong, right? The beer pong things from it. It's
Red
not like
cups
Restoration
strewn.
Hardware.
Right.
Exactly.
There's a picture being painted. One party and a few more sex acts later, we woke up hungover at my apartment to my roommate laughing loudly in the living room. Stumbling our way over, we see her in tears holding a note. Snatching it out of her hand while she's doubling over, we read, "Hi, neighbors. I live across the courtyard. Next time, make sure to shut the blinds. Nice thrust, though."
Oh my God.
Of course. We live in a large complex, which means this individual not only watched, but specifically counted out the number of apartments and walked a 5-minute walk over just to deliver the note. We found this slightly embarrassing, but mostly hilarious. My then boyfriend, proud of his thrusts, subsequently kept the note.
Ooh.
On
Wow.
our Sunday episode, you'll know that this is unheard of.
For some people.
Right. Well, if there was a note about my thrusts, I'm keeping
keep
that
it? You
note.
keep it?
Yeah, of course.
Now I know where your priorities are. Yeah.
I'm a sexual beast. My then boyfriend, proud of his thrust, subsequently kept the note in the glove box for future laughs. The worst part is it's 5 years later. We just got married a few weeks ago, and his parents sold the truck along with the note to a family friend before we had time to secure it. Love thrust issues.
Thrust issues is funny.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the marriage.
I know. You usually don't hear that.
It's funny that we sold the car. No, my fuck note.
Right. No, plus I think without the context it might make less sense. Although probably still get it.
Can you imagine opening the glove box of the car you just bought?
I would think
Good
someone was
fucking.
like watching me. I'd be scared. Yeah.
Right.
It's only old. It's like it's what? How many years old is this?
I mean, an old truck.
5 years later. Okay.
Well, we don't know how old the truck was then. Could be. I just
no,
imagine.
I mean
like,
the letter is 5
oh,
years
the
old.
letter. Yeah. What do you think of this?
I think it's weird that the person wrote the note. I think that means they kept watching.
It's the most hateable person in the world.
Right. Either look
Right.
or look and shut up, or
right.
don't look and tell the person.
Right. Or get angry. Your
You want them
indifference.
angry?
Well, I'm saying like.
What's the point of telling them? It's already over.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like you were like, my children were in the courtyard. Like
Right.
it's like.
If you saw someone having sex through the window, you would just like ignore them.
I remember I was like 10 years old. We woke up early for school or something. My dad was driving me to school. We walk out of the front of the house. It was like dark out still. Like it was that early. I had to like be
God,
somewhere. Across the street, the neighbor, the mom's just in the window,
Naked?
naked as the eye could see.
Did your dad say something?
We both looked. We had a father-son moment.
And what did
We were like, look at her titties.
did you leave a note?
No, yeah, well, that's the thing. I was like, why would we say anything? I guess
If you're listening next door,
30 years later. No, I just remember the windows were wide open. I'll never forget it. It was like it's the morning, but it's like dark still.
Right.
And their lights are on, and it was so early that I could understand why,
Yeah, go about your day.
Yeah, and
need
like
to
we
tell her.
moved on.
Yeah.
Good for her. We kind of did like
Yeah, it'd be like
I never saw it coming.
It'd be like you guys writing her a note. You, by the way, could see you through the thing. Nice breasts.
Right.
By the way.
Have a good day. Right. It's weird.
Yeah. I think here's the rules for if you see someone through your window naked. You either
Masturbate immediately.
fine and keep it to yourself. Right?
Right.
Or don't look and tell them.
I don't
Just
even
so you
why
know,
tell them.
Just so you know, like let's say I think you could tell them if it's like if it's continuous and they might not know.
Right. Fine.
If it's like every night at 7 p.m. you see this woman, she's acting as though she doesn't realize that her blinds are open.
Different
Then,
story. Right.
By the way, just so you know, like the blinds are open. We're not looking, but I just wanted you to know.
Right.
Fine.
Maybe you're not aware.
Yes.
Yeah. But nice thrust though.
That's what I'm saying. That's like the worst of both worlds. It's like you're a
creep, and you're like letting them know that you're trying to like
and you're
embarrass
embarrassing them.
Yeah, it's fucked up. I had the same feeling because I saw that. I was like, what a piece of shit. Like, and it's almost, what they're doing is like the person who writes that note does nothing. They're a loser. They never fuck.
They count. Yeah, they're counting the houses. This is like the most exciting sexual thing that's happened to them
ever.
Yes.
And then they make you the crazy one because you fuck.
Mm-hmm. And you're in college. How old are they? Maybe early 20s.
Early 20s.
Okay, whatever.
Fucking on a beer pong table like you should.
Exactly.
Did
You're just having a good time.
Did you have a name?
I had private parts.
Like that. That's
Okay.
good. Candace had Neighborhood Watch. Love that.
Also good.
I had, let me get to my notes. Who's that thrusting in the window?
Oh, that's funny. I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I had to look up. You remember that
Is
song?
that doggy in the window?
Do you know it's not that?
It's how much is that doggy in the window?
Right. I didn't know.
How much is that
Doggy in the window. Who's that thrusting in the window? The one with the waggly penis. Who's that thrusting in the window? I do hope that penis comes. That was my rendition.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna make the extended cut of the.
Nah, yeah.
No, but it was great.
I didn't realize how many lyrics there were to that song.
Are there a lot? I really only know the first couple stanzas.
It's actually crazy. I got into it a little bit.
Is that like of a real singer, or is it just
It's
like an old?
It's
rhyme?
old song.
Yeah.
I looked it up.
Where did it originate?
I mean the lyrics. What's that? Patty Page.
Wow.
1953.
Because now that wouldn't fly. You'd be like, you'd have to, you can't buy a
You gotta
dog from a
rescue.
dog store, right?
Patty Page would be canceled
Yeah,
immediately.
How much is that dog? Better fucking keep walking.
Right.
Yeah.
There's so many videos of comedians like talking about like a dog and then someone in the crowd being like, you gotta rescue.
Give him a shelter.
Yeah. They go crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of those videos. And it's just, I don't know. I'm not a dog. I don't
Adopt,
have a dog.
don't shop.
Is that what they say?
I think so. I think that's yeah.
Jordan has learned all the suburban catchphrases.
Basically, yeah.
Right.
I'm already a Karen. Look at me.
You did it.
Yeah.
Red flag or deal breaker? No, this is unaffected.
This is kind of hot. If you're 23,
Totally
this
agree.
is kind of hot. It's a little. The older you get, the more embarrassing it is.
Right, like it's your neighbor that also owns a
And
30-year mortgage.
The
across
longer you're
the
going to be
street.
living there, yeah.
Right,
If
I
this is
guess
my neighbor
my-
here.
right.
Mortifying.
My
but-
stories that I just told is more embarrassing for.
I mean, now you're 10. You see that woman all the time.
All the time, every time. Hi.
What do you think your mom would have done if she saw her?
I don't know. I think she would have laughed. I don't know, laughed or wow, whoa. I don't know. It is nice that I experienced it with my dad.
Yeah, it's probably better.
Right. We high-fived.
Okay, it's getting weirder. It's getting weirder. It's okay.
Let's do another email.
Okay, let's do it. Dear J&J, I've been with my boyfriend for 6 months. We're both 32. He's English and we both live in London. Love it.
Cheerio.
He's been in a couple of relationships before meeting me. The last one ended about a year before we met, whereas I was single and on my own for 8 years before him. We met shortly after my mother passed away. As someone with an anxious attachment system, the timing was helpful because I didn't have the bandwidth to put up with the situationship. It was clear in what I was clear in what I wanted, and we've been together pretty much since, and it was so easy. My boyfriend has a secure attachment system, and I've learned to become more trusting and secure by his side. But for the first time, I have the ability to wonder if the person I wanted to be with so badly actually makes me happy. In previous situations with men, I was so consumed by anxiety and being chosen that there was no space to ask myself what I want. But now there is, and I'm finding it difficult. My boyfriend is handsome, smart, and supportive and does a lot of acts of service. He was there for me after my mother died. We have great sex and we laugh so much together. He walks my dog, cooks, helps me paint my flat, etc. We get along well and have been on a holiday together, and he is enthusiastic about our future and often references the life we'll live and things we'll do. At the same time, he is not romantic. He is very conservative with money because he was saving to buy an apartment and we split everything. He has never taken me out for dinner, for example, and he only gets me flowers once from his mother's garden because I kept dropping hints from his mother's English garden. Wow.
Right. It feels very Hugh Grant.
For sure. They're like cheap Hugh Grant.
Yeah.
I buy gifts or send postcards when I'm abroad and hope he'll mirror my behavior, but he hasn't. That's a great reason to do things, though.
Yeah, to only do things if they'll return. Yeah.
I do most of the planning and reminding him of things he said he'd do but hasn't. I'm the person who initiates any profound conversation about sex or feelings, and I also ask him a lot of questions about his past, his childhood, etc., but he doesn't seem particularly interested in mine. I've mentioned my attachment challenges and scarcity mindset, but he's not curious. When I've said I'd like him to consider these things as they are important to me, he always commits to doing better, but nothing changes. I've also asked him how I can be better, but he says he's happy and loves me just the way I am. Oh, that's the worst.
Oh no.
It seems like she's asking a lot of stuff so she can give her own opinion.
Right. She wants an exchange.
Anything you need me to change?
Right. You're the best. Okay, do you want to ask about me now? Yeah. Should you change? Yeah.
He also travels a lot for work, which I resent sometimes.
Oh,
I know you guys always say to own your standards, but I don't even know what mine are anymore and what to prioritize. I've wanted to find someone for so long, but now that I have them, I feel like something is missing and miss the mental piece of being alone. Okay. Did you also question things loads when you first started dating Mike, Jordana? Is being in a relationship accepting that you can't have it all? Or do I need to admit that this isn't the right man for me, no matter how much I wish he could be? Thanks in advance. A secure but unsure Betch.
This is a really tough one.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's hard to say to the person. I mean, she even writes, you can tell just by the way people write things where they are at mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was single and on my own for 8 years before him. That's what's saying.
On my lonesome.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you were single.
Yeah.
I was single for 8 years.
Yeah.
Instead, it's single and on my own. That's how, to me, that one sentence tells me their whole worldview of what being single is. That you're just alone.
Yeah.
Like, on my own. And it's like when you say it that way, I know that they've come a long way. And they finally have this relationship that finally doesn't make them feel anxious all the time. Or I can understand why they're like, would never leave it.
Right. Or they're finding it hard to justify leaving it.
Right. I don't know. Because I look at this and I go, and also a lot of the things she describes about him are very like common.
Yeah.
Guys that aren't romantic, guys that are just kind of simple.
Yeah, this guy doesn't sound like a monster.
No, he sounds like a guy.
Yeah.
But that's the problem too, because then other people minimize it when you just might be unhappy.
Right. Well, I think I don't think this is a black and white question of like break up with him or stay together with him.
Right.
I think that, I've had my own, I've talked about this on the show of wanting, Mike to be more romantic. I see a lot of my own relationship things that I've worked on in here too.
I thought of you when reading this email.
I thought of myself when reading this email.
But I thought of you, and you seem different than this.
Right. How so?
I don't know. It didn't seem like you were saying these things while also unhappy.
Right.
You were like, I want to let her back.
Mm-hmm.
It was not, nothing this guy does is right.
Yeah.
You know, like
he doesn't make any effort.
Again, and that goes to the gray nature of this thing, because I was like, you know, and then you also have a partner that was like, I've heard you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give it a shot.
Yeah.
You
but
know?
here's the thing though. Like, he's not like, what does she say? What are her complaints here?
He's
not romantic. He conservative with money, and he wants, he's like, a lot of these things are like, you have to say, this is who this person is, right? They could probably move on the spectrum a few points, right, towards you. I think in the long run, the more you're with someone, the more you get to know them, the more you know what makes them tick, the more, if you care about them, you can change your ways to an extent. But he's never going to be the most romantic person. He's never going to be, it sounds like, the most happy with like spending money or doing any of those things. And that's okay. Right? That's who he is. That's like, he can move a little bit, but that's generally who he is. She could find someone else who has these qualities, who is super romantic, who does, take her out for dinner, or gets her flowers from the store instead of his mom's garden, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
He might not have some other qualities that this guy has. Only she can know, like, how important, like, you're never going to find the perfect person. I do think there's an element of that. There's no one that you're going to meet where they're like, and people who say that they have are fucking lying.
Right.
Like, they're lying, or they're living in a state where they are not they're not self-aware enough about their own relationship to realize that, like, they've compromised or settled on some things. Mm-hmm. And that person will do the same for you. To an extent.
I think that her biggest issue is making it about him.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, you guys say to own your standard. Well, these things about him annoy me. And then again, what you said during the email is like, a lot of the things she does are to get him to do things.
Right. And
that's, I don't think, gonna get her answers. Like, I would ask her, what percentage of your day are you happy? That's
the number one. I think before you even she starts getting into that, I would ask herself that for sure.
But I mean, that starts at me,
right? Not
at, I don't get this thing. Because if you list out all the things about someone that they don't do, you could make a pretty big list.
Anyone could find that, I think, in any person that they're with at all. A list. If you're looking for the things that they're not doing, you could find a large list.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you look for the things they are doing, you could make a large list. And those lists don't matter as much as, like, what am I feeling? It feels like she's looking for answers from other places other than having to look at herself. And there's a scary part about being like, how happy am I, is going, I'm not happy. Right. And then I have to go to a place that didn't really enjoy being either. So you have to wonder, like, are you ever happy?
Yeah, I think
they didn't like being single. They're sitting here in a relationship that they're like, this didn't fix it. Again, that might be cause for therapy.
Some people like the game.
Some people like the game. Right. She's losing that and getting boyfriend that's not really doing it for her.
Stability. In some ways.
In exchange for stability. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know her. I don't know what her background is. She talks about attachment a lot. Like, there is a thing where, like, I do think it's dangerous to think that you can get everything from everyone. And I think, like, if there's a lot of little things that bother you that the other person is not willing to work on, but it adds up to you being, like you said, unhappy overall, versus thinking about all of the things that the person is not doing, versus thinking someone once told me that, actually, as one of the best relationship pieces of advice that they had gotten from someone. It's like, if you spend your time thinking about what's missing or what's wrong, you're going to have, with the same person, you're going to have a very different relationship with that same person if you spend your time thinking about what they are doing and, like, the ways that they are adding to your life. Because you could come up, like you said, you could come up with a list for both people. So I think only she knows whether these are, like, big enough things that she doesn't feel like she can work on, and she's generally unhappy. But I do think that none of them are screaming, like, get the fuck away to me. And I think she has to know like how important. She hasn't been in that many relationships. Maybe she has to think, how important are these things to me? And maybe they're more important than she realized. And she should find someone else who can do it for her. But also maybe there is a sense of there is no one is ever gonna be absolutely your match in every single way.
Right. I guess I'm trying to think of like what's some actionables, that I would want to do in this scenario. Like I think like.
Well, I think it's like what can you live with, right? So she says, like, I would take each thing on its own. He's not romantic. That's a little too general. He's very conservative with money because he has never taken me out for dinner. So you have to think,
right?
Am I okay never getting taken out for dinner? Or am I okay getting taken out for dinner once a year?
Well, how about this? Because I like that you zoned in on an actual thing that could be done. Like not romantic. That's fucking fairy dust. That doesn't, not romantic.
That's what I'm saying. That's
different
too vague.
It's too vague. Conservative money, that's also too vague. Money, everyone sees money being spent in different ways and relates to it differently.
Right.
Why doesn't she just get angry about we haven't gone to dinner?
That's what I'm saying. It's more.
She's not even
actionable.
allowing herself to be angry about it. You know
well,
what I mean?
She's not allowed. She's talking about the standard. Like the standard is like, if you bring it back to even the first question of cursing in a relationship, she could say something that matters a lot to me is feeling like I'm, taken care of by being taken out to dinner. That's something I love. Is that something that you're able to do for me?
Right.
A few times a year.
Right. Well, or even like, I want a date night once a week.
Yeah.
I want a date night once a week. And, that's what makes me happy. I think like it does sound like she's kind of avoiding an argument here.
Well, because I understand why she's avoiding an argument, because she's kind of like, he's not really technically doing anything like antagonistic.
Right. But that's not her problem.
Right.
She's allowed to be happy and unhappy.
Yeah.
And he's,
well, that's how you get what you want.
Right. And you go like, listen, I've been surprised. I've been in a relationship where someone's like, I'm fucking pissed. And I'm like, what? About what? And then they're like this. And I go, oh, okay.
Right.
Good to know.
Yeah.
This goes back to the first email is a very straight line of the first email, because it's like, I think this is like the opposite thing. This is the passive, we don't have arguments couple.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like, she's got to bring it up. And sometimes it means more when I think it means more when it's not in the person's nature and they do it. So whatever he does that he's doing is like what he's generally good at. But the thing that he goes out of his way to do because it makes you happy actually shows that he gives a shit.
But that's probably why they don't, like, if I was to ask them, like, what percentage of your time with them are you happy?
Mm-hmm.
They probably don't even know, because they don't
Think
get
about it.
angry.
Yeah.
They don't tell them.
Yeah.
They're not fighting.
They're just in their own head annoyed.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not even like they're still, they're judging this, what should they do or not do all the time. And it's like, if you were just like, what the fuck? We haven't gone on a date ever. I'm mad. Fix it. I think, and then he doesn't fix it, you're going to be unhappy more. Now you're going, I am unhappy.
Now you're building a case.
Right. Now you're going, I am unhappy. And like, I don't think this person's like feeling.
Right.
Like,
but I also think, like, again, like this, there, to an extent, you can change a person. You can get them to do what you want. If she looks in her mind, and only she will know this, if she wants someone who's going to be like doting on her and always and really buying her gifts when they're away and doing all these things, like that's important to her. And that's okay if it's important to her. It's okay if she doesn't really care. If she thinks about it and she's like, I don't really care that much. If that's really important to her, then know that this guy is never going to be, you're never going to change him into being that person. You can move someone though, a little bit.
I guess her concern would be like, I get rid of this guy.
Right.
And that person doesn't even exist. They don't have an example.
Well, the person is perfect in every way. They don't exist.
Well, but if they were like, doting is my thing. I've realized that date night, I got to have someone that wants to go to dinner as much as I want to go to dinner.
Right.
And they're like, they don't have the example just waiting in the wings. That's why they avoid it.
But then she can also think, maybe I meet that guy. The guy doting is his thing. He's obsessed with me. He's always bringing me little gifts from wherever he is. He takes me to dinner all the time. He brings me flowers from a real flower store. But the sex sucks.
Right.
Right? I'm not really that into...
And he's in a ton of debt.
Sure. Yeah.
Like,
but I'm saying, like, that's like, I remember talking to my own therapist about that, like, sometimes, because I'd have my, I'd want to, not knowing what a healthy relationship looked like, what to look for. And he was always like, he's like, of course you could find someone who writes you poems every morning, that like,
Right.
you know, that does all these things. Like the person is out there.
Mm-hmm.
There might be other things that you like about this person that other person wouldn't have. So like only you can really know like what you care about the most. Cause you really, I don't think the goal is to have everything, cause you're never going to get that.
Yeah. And it's like one of those time travel movies. Like it's like, if I had gone this way, and you're like, that's the way I should have gone. Then you find out, like,
Right.
butterfly effect. 1,000 other things are wrong, and
Right. Well, I mean, the question is like at the core of it, what you said initially. Are you really happy? Like, obviously not all the time, but overall and the vast majority of the time.
as a percentage.
Yeah. And only, again, like you can feel that. Or because sometimes people do, and I think a lot of women do this, and I've done this too, is you kind of just focus on like what's missing or the things that you see on Instagram of other people doing things. And you're kind of like, well, this person's husband bought them this, or took them to this place, or took them on this vacation, or looks like whatever. And you're kind of like, and you invent this perfect relationship, or it looks like online. And then I do think that it is detrimental to just constantly think of like what needs to be improved
Right.
in the relationship, because I think that most relationships have a lot if you really thought about it.
Absolutely. You ready to play some games? This week, we are playing Thirsty or Nah, sponsored by Stanley. The new Fast Flow bottle from Stanley is here to elevate your thirst-quenching game with its easy carry handle, Aerolite featherweight technology for on-the-go transport, and double-wall vacuum installation to keep your water refreshingly cold for hours. The leak-proof Fast Flow lid is designed for quick and easy hydration, making it perfect for studio and gym workouts, daily walks, and everything in between. So here's how we play Thirsty or Not. We have a few scenarios from listeners for which we need to determine whether someone's being too thirsty, meaning are these dating moves over-eager to the point of weird or nah? And could it lead to a relationship? So we're going to get into Thirsty or Not. I just want to take a look at this Stanley.
This is beautiful.
Beautiful. I just can't believe the product line that
It's incredible.
Stanley has. This one has a twist top, so you can drink it,
Amazing.
It's just a
There's really an
different
option. There's an option for anyone, everyone has their own style. Right?
Absolutely.
And Stanley's got it all.
They have it all, and it's light. This one's light, but it comes in so many sizes and colors.
Cool.
Perfect. I mean, I just love it. And
Same.
it just works.
Such
for
an
your life.
incredible product. All of them.
I just can't believe the product line, the diversification, and they all do serve a different purpose.
They do.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready. Oh,
They send you song lyrics.
okay.
My friend has just started exploring the dating world again after a divorce. She had a nice date with a guy from Hinge. The date was about 4 hours long. Dinner at a Mexican restaurant, decent conversation, and a kiss. 2 days later, he sends her this YouTube link with lyrics from the song Beauty by Drew Hill. Lyrics include, I hope I can make you mine before another man steals your heart. And once your beauty is mine, I swear we will never be apart. She thought it was super thirsty and way too much after one date. I thought, nah, probably just a song he likes, and he was on YouTube. What do you think?
I think it was just a song he likes on YouTube.
Did the song come up during the date? Did the YouTube come up on the
Yeah.
date? Like, I have a lot more questions.
I feel like there would have been some context for it, no?
I think to send a Drew Hill song, I don't go into the lyrics as much as the sound of it.
But if someone, I wouldn't pay attention to the lyrics of any song someone's sending me necessarily, unless they were like, the lyrics are us.
No, no.
The lyrics are us is thirsty.
That's thirsty. Here's the thirsty part. Yeah. If music never came up and you're just like, this song just hit me today. And
Reminded me of us.
That's a different story than, that's a thirsty. Yeah, but if it's we talked about music,
right? Here's a song that I'm really liking these days.
That's a nah. Right. There's a context to this.
Yeah. If you just like the song, we need to see the text.
I got to see the text. Yeah, and it's just. I think when you're getting into the lyrics, you've gone the step farther than probably they have.
Agreed.
Want to do another?
Let's do another one. They offer to be your friend's wingman so they can hang out with you. This guy I'm seeing wanted to hang out, but I was already with a friend when he texted me, and I obviously wasn't going to ditch her. Instead of taking my hanging out with a friend as a no, he offered to find a guy for my friend and pay for our Uber to come see them. Okay.
It's going to be a thirsty for me.
That's pretty thirsty.
Yeah, this
it's
guy.
like, how bad do you need to have sex?
Right.
Just
Also, how about do you need this hangout?
yeah.
Like, do you have,
Right.
we can find other days of the week. Why
right,
tonight?
right now, it's like, why you need this so, and you said this before, anytime you need something like that bad, it's like weird. It's not even
Especially
about this person.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
You're like, why do you have to, like, if someone was like, I need tonight to be our date, I'll bring a friend, I'll make sure it happens. You're like, what are you trying to steal my identity? That would be my first thought.
Right. Like, why do you need me in this place at this time?
Right. It's not trustworthy to want to hang out with someone you don't know so badly.
This is like the definition of thirsty. Like,
Yeah.
relax.
And I'll pay for when someone goes, and I'll pay for the Uber. Whenever
No,
that happens, you're in thirsty town. You are
right
on the Sahara.
Despy.
Very despy.
Thirsty. Okay.
Let's do one more. You ready?
All right.
They write you a love letter.
Ooh.
Uh-oh. This is right up Jordana's alley. This guy I had only gone on a few dates with decided to go the old-fashioned route and put pen to paper when it came to his feelings. He wrote me a love letter, and maybe it could have been sweet in theory, but his handwriting and spelling was so bad, and it was 3 pages, front and back. Instant turn off from the person. But 3 pages front and back. What could you have to say?
Even for me, a person who loves handwritten notes,
you do.
It would be very thirsty.
Right.
Too thirsty for me. And here's why. Not under one, the spelling thing not great if you're going to be writing the whole check a few words.
Right. Write it into your notes app
right.
and then write it
Yes, or Microsoft Word and then
Amateur.
copy it. Yeah, that's what Mike does. That's the first thing.
Right.
Secondly, 3 dates, not enough. Every date gets a 1-page handwritten. What is this, The Bachelor?
Right. No. Yeah, you're exactly right. 3 dates. Here's the most you can do that's sweet.
Post-it.
A little post-it. Yeah, you get that much room.
Yes.
That's how much you can write.
Yes.
That 3 dates, 1
It's
post-it.
longer than a post-it. You need to wait until you are exclusive.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It just and at that point the post-it is like just really enjoying our time together. And you would have to be on the same
Have a great
page.
day.
Have a great day. Right. Leave it on the fridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the post-it, if we got to add that to the rules that we have on this podcast.
I agree. A lot of thirsty scenarios this week. Very thirsty.
It's summertime. People are really needing their Stanleys.
They are. I mean, I've been like hoping that we've gotten these for so long because there are very few things that have this much water that can last you an entire recording. We spend a lot of time in here recording. So I love my Stanley. I have several of them. They're incredible.
You're right.
You're a
During
believer
when
now.
we tape, I'm all in.
Right? Usually I'm like, oh, I need a refill. It really interrupts the flow.
And
No pun intended.
They stay cold.
Yes. Equally important.
Boom.
Both stylish and functional, Stanley's new Fast Flow is here and ready to help you unleash your thirst-quenching potential. The new leak-proof Fast Flow lid with an angled, wide-mouth design makes drinking your water even easier. Instant hydration, anyone? Plus, the drink cap makes pouring and drinking fast and easy. Just snap the cap into the handle's integrated holder while you drink. Perfect for your daily walks and workouts, with 4 sizes to choose from. Plus, it comes in a variety of bright and fresh colors like citron and alpine.
I love this purple.
So beautiful.
Great looking purple.
Vibrant.
Love it.
So there is something for everyone. Never look or be thirsty again thanks to Stanley. And you can try the Stanley Fast Flow for yourself by visiting stanley1913.com.
Well, we solved dating again.
I'm going to go stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated
It's hot out
all
there,
the time.
folks.
We love our Stanleys.
Yes. Hands off.
Hands off.
We're
Listen,
taking all of these.
We love Stanley, and we love doing. I love doing this podcast. It's the
best.
greatest pleasure, and I want everyone to go watch the special and enjoy. And we'll be back on Sunday with a very special guest.
Bye. The You Up podcast is produced by Jorge Morales-Pico, Sean Kilby, and Candice Maniga. Editing by Jorge Morales-Pico and Shannon Sassone. Social media by Candice Maniga. Guest booking by Ali Friedlander. Be sure to follow at u.up.podcast on Instagram and send us your emails to uup@betches.com.